Have you ever found yourself becoming completely obsessed and even confused over a guy's mixed signals? I know I have. One day he's all in, texting you, pursuing you, making plans, and the next he disappears into thin air and you're wondering what the hell went wrong. You're wondering, is it because he's avoidant or is it because he's not into me? And this is one of the questions that a lot of us ask when we are dating someone that we like and we start to sense them pulling away because the difference feels impossible to figure out when our nervous system is completely lit up with anxiety. And we can sometimes fall into that pattern of trying to figure out someone, especially if you identify with the archetype of the overanalyzer. We want to know what's happening. We want to understand why this person is pulling away. And it can play into our own attachment patterns of self abandonment when we do this. So I want you to be able to stay grounded in your dating life, to be calm, collected, and have that sense of control without playing into rumination and over analyzing and overthinking these situations. So in today's episode, we are going to break down what is really happening in these situations, the honest answer that you need to hear as someone with an anxious attachment. And let's have a look at the difference between him not being interested and being avoidant. And more importantly, how to stop abandoning yourself while trying to figure him out. Because, spoiler alert, my loves, the honest answer isn't always about him. It's about you. It's about your standards, protecting your peace, and learning to detach from people who cannot meet you where you are. So, if you're tired of spinning in rumination and overanalyzing and trying to avoid the sometimes very uncomfortable and difficult acceptance of maybe they're just not into me, this episode is for you. Let's get going. Hello, my loves. Welcome back to the Relationship Rehab Podcast. I am Samantha, your attachment trauma specialist and relationship coach. And today we're diving into that excruciating moment where we realize that the person that we're dating, that we really like, that we're forming a connection with, is starting to pull away. And now we're falling into overthinking patterns of, is it because he's avoidant? Is it because he's a narcissist? Is it because he's just not into me? And this is a very real struggle and a very painful one of that. And we've all been there. I know I have, where I remember dating someone who started off super consistent, texting me almost immediately back. Every morning, I would have that good morning text. I'd have that good night text. He was planning our next date before the last one even ended. He was showing up. He was showing up with all those signs that he was super interested, super excited to pursue the connection and see where this goes. And then a few weeks in, things completely shifted and suddenly he became harder to reach and he became really vague about our plans. He kept saying things like, oh yeah, let's meet soon. And my brain just went completely into overdrive. My nervous system was completely whacked and I couldn't put my finger on what was going on. And the way that we protect ourselves in this moment to try to get back somewhat of a sense of control is to try to figure out, okay, if I can figure this out, if I can fix this problem, if I can find a solution, then everything is going to be okay and we're going to get back to normal. And we almost take it upon ourselves. It's like our ego is saying, all right, challenge accepted. Let me see what needs to be fixed. Because sometimes we can fall into that fixing energy to try to pull him back. What do we need to do to be able to pull them back in and see our value and see our worth? Because right now he's showing me all the messages that he's not interested, he's getting bored, he doesn't care, maybe he's avoidant. And instead of seeing this as information about them, we see it as information about us. And we see it as something that we need to fix and turn around. So, what I've learned on this journey of healing my anxious attachment and dating avoidance and learning about avoidant attachment as well through my partners and through my work is that we often misunderstand how avoidance actually work. I know there's a lot of stuff on the internet these days about avoidant people, and we tend to oversimplify this as, oh yeah, avoidance, they appear as very hot and cold, and they are like this from the start. And this is the thing about attachment trauma. It doesn't usually show up immediately, early on. So for both avoidant and anxious, when you meet someone very early on, the avoidant person can appear very engaged. They can appear very excited and be pursuing you and be wanting to develop the connection. And a lot of us have then labeled that, looking back, as love bombing, as if this person was manipulating us, when really it's not the case at all. Because these attachment related fears are often triggered by relational stress. And this comes around as intimacy deepens, especially for the avoidantly attached person. So they're not avoidant from the get go, they become avoidant when they are triggered in the connection. So when things start to get a little bit more serious, their fears of intimacy, fears of losing themselves, loss of autonomy, being suffocated in a relationship is triggered in that moment. And this is when we start to see that pattern playing out. So it's not from day one. It's from the moment where they then start to think, oh, things are getting a bit serious. I don't know where this is going to go. I need to start now to create some balance just in case I lose myself in this relationship. Their attachment wound is being triggered. And that is all around losing their sense of self and autonomy based off of the childhood experiences that they have. So at the start, they may be really responsive, making those plans. And as the relationship unfolds and gets a little bit more serious, they feel that pressure. And with their deeper wounds then becoming activated in their attachment system results in them withdrawing. Now, what we do in this moment is we start to overanalyze what we did wrong because they were actively pursuing us. They were showing that they were very interested in us. It felt so good. The connection was just sparking off, and there were strong signs of interest and pursuit. So we then start to internalize this experience as, I must have done something wrong for them to behave this way. So then our anxious attachment patterns will start to be activated. We will start to lean in. We will start to chase. We will start to change different things about ourselves in order for them to come back to us. That is our main motivation, is for them to come back to us, for us to get back to where we were. So if that means I need to overgive, over apologize, become something that I am not in order to sustain the connection, in order to get the connection back, then I'm gonna do it because of our early childhood experiences. The other way that we can start to go is that we will then start to label them. Oh, it must be because they're avoidant. And then we start to explain their behavior away. And it is a protective mechanism that we then put in place so we don't have to face maybe an honest truth that this person just might not be into us anymore, just might not be feeling the connection. But because they are not emotionally mature enough to come to us and say that, or maybe they're in that space where they're not sure whether this is something that they want to actively pursue anymore. So they're taking up space and they feel maybe a little vulnerable, a little afraid to come to you and say that. We're avoiding that truth by slapping a label on them that it must be avoidant. And now we start to research. We start to Google, we start to watch all the podcast episodes about avoidant attachment so we can understand them more. Because if we can understand them more, that can be a solution to the problem. Again, going into that fixing mentality of, if I can just understand them more, I can create a safer relationship for them to thrive in, when really the reality being, it might not be the fact that they're avoidant. Now, this can be a really hard pill to swallow. I get it. And if you're feeling triggered right now, I'm with you. Stay with me. We're going to flip the script, because this isn't about them. This is about you and what you want and what you're looking for. And if you're already asking the question, is he into me? Is it because they're not interested? Use that as information to be able to empower you, not to internalize it to bring you down and dim your light. So that's the first red flag right there and then, because someone who's genuinely interested in you makes it clear. Someone who is emotionally mature enough to have a conversation with you around, I'm not too sure where this connection is going, but I want to keep you in the loop. I don't want to keep you in the dark. That's what you deserve. Period. An inconsistent effort or inability to communicate, that says to us that there's just not enough there to build trust and security. And that is what we're looking for in a relationship with someone. So let's take a look at what's happening within us, this anxious spiral that's just going out of control right now. So when we start to experience this inconsistency, it's threat alert. This is dangerous. This is not okay. So, like I said, the default then coping mechanism we lean into is that we pursue harder, we self abandon, we try to get back to that early version of the relationship, and it can activate those old patterns of hypervigilance. If I try harder, maybe I won't be abandoned and rejected by them. This chasing energy is only going to deepen the cycle and is only going to push them even further away. But I get it. This is what's activating our attachment trauma of rejection and abandonment. And we want them to want us. We want to be chosen. And the way that then is linked to our earlier experiences of attachment is through the inconsistency. The inconsistency here is the common denominator. So we've had experiences where someone is there and they're attending to us and everything feels good, and sometimes they're not there, and now we're wondering what we did wrong, and we're starting to chase to get back to that point where they are attuned and they are available for us. And that can then result in us holding on really tight to the connection and not being able to let them go. We're not able to get ourselves to that point where we then have to honor ourselves, respect ourselves by walking away from this relationship, from this person. But instead, it feels safer, feels more comfortable to self abandon ourselves, to try to fix them, to try to understand them more, because maybe then we can change and manipulate and control what's happening so we feel safer. But as secure women in the making, we are no longer doing that. We are now seeing this as information for us to then use our discernment to be able to get curious and analyze if this is a connection that we want to continue to be in. So we need to step back from premature attachment, first of all, and see that when we are dating people, we are in a space where we are making assessments about one another, about whether this is a person that I can see myself being in relationship with. We take that very personally sometimes because of the rejection wounds that we carry. If this person is not into us, it's something about us that is bad, when reality is it could just not be a compatible match for them, and that's okay. We are not for everyone, and I'm sure you've had experiences as well where you've dated somebody and they're a great person but they're just not your person, and that's all right. And I would rather that truth come to fruition than pursue someone or pursue something with someone when they're not 100% feeling it. And we're not doing that. We deserve to be fully chosen. We deserve someone who is 100% all in on us, and we are 100% in on them. Anything that is in between is just not acceptable anymore. So by stepping back from that premature attachment, we can stay in that safe, calm, grounded space while we get to know them. And if you're asking the question, are they into me because they're showing me that they're not? That is your answer right there, my love. Maybe it doesn't even matter. That this is just something that you are no longer available for. Rather than going into overanalyzing, we are now stepping into an empowered, confident, secure woman state and figuring out what do we need to do to break this pattern of push and pursue. Do we need to have a conversation with them about this because you want to know where you stand? You don't want to feel like this person is slipping through your fingers, and you want to know if this is worth your time and energy. So the real work here isn't about decoding him. It's about deciding what you want, coming back to what your values are in a relationship, how you want to feel, what will you not tolerate, what are those non-negotiables that you are no longer putting up with. What are those standards that you're setting for yourself and the connections that you make in the dating world? And if he can't meet that baseline, it doesn't matter if he's avoidant or uninterested. Either way, he's not aligned. He's not for you. So the honest answer you need to hear that if you're stuck in this analyzing state, it's a sign to step back and not lean in. And I know this can be really tough if we have a lack mentality around love and relationships. Maybe this is someone that you really like. This is the first person that you have found a really good connection with. And that has now fueled our beliefs around that there is nothing out there. And especially in swiping culture with the dating apps, that is amplified in a massive collective level right now that good, healthy, safe relationships are just not available for me. And maybe that's where the work needs to start for you is being able to get rid of those lack mentality thoughts and be able to step into an energy of abundance because that is the reality, my love. There is an abundance of people, of love, of healthy relationships out there for you. But the more that we chase, the more that we try to fix, the more that we try to prove and change ourselves in order to get that one person to like us, we're blocking ourselves. Is it the lack mentality that you have around relationships that is keeping you stuck in these cycles? Is it the abandonment wound that is being activated and poked at that's keeping you trapped in overanalyzing? This is all clues and information for us to see where our work begins. But what I do want you to do right here, right now, after the listening to this episode, is start to identify your relationship values. Like I said, how do you want to feel? How will you no longer tolerate? So you can step back from leaning in and pour into yourself instead. Get yourself to the point where when you start to think and ask yourself the question, if someone get yourself to the point where if you have to second question yourself that someone is interested in you, that is your sign that something is not right and you need to step back, have that conversation, be more direct, and be aware that you're not falling into that default pattern of overanalyzing, internalizing, and explaining away behavior. Take that radical responsibility. This is on me, and this is what I need to work on shifting. So I hope that this episode has supported you to realize that the harder you try to win someone over that isn't right for you, the more that you're deepening into those cycles, those default cycles of self-abandonment. It's not about diagnosing their attachment style or chucking on labels. It's about honoring yourself, what you need and what you desire from your romantic connections. So if you're ready to break these over-analyzing self-abandonment cycles and start feeling more calm and confident in dating and be able to detach yourself from the outcome, I've created a free ebook that is going to be your starting point to healing your anxious attachment. And inside, I'm going to walk you through those first steps of soothing your nervous system so you can stop chasing and start attracting the love that you deserve. It's going to help you identify your anxious attachment patterns and be able to rewrite your story so you can set those secure boundaries and values that you are calling in for your love life. So to get your free copy of that ebook, just click the link in the show notes below and get started and let me know how you get on with it. And as always, my love, I would love to hear how this episode has supported you. You can send me a DM privately or you can drop a comment down below and share with our community of how this episode has helped you. And share with a friend who also needs to hear this message. All right, my love, thank you so much for being here with me. Until next time, I'm sending you all the love and light.